Is that
I see
better?
what you're doing there.
All right. So can y'all
Right
see
here,
me
so.
now on the stream?
Yes, we can see you.
All right.
And we hear
Time
it,
slip
so.
this. Let's give us an hour. All right. Hello, everybody. Welcome to WSD's inaugural talk show event. Thank you for being here. I'd like to thank my guest, Peanut Butter Princess. That's Peanut Butter Princess. Old Lady Alchemist over here. You can see her. And then to her right would be Craftjaw, and below him is Prankster. And in the center there is Freebird77, and at the bottom is a very special guest, Smexy Carter. Thank you guys for being here.
Maxie.
Okay.
You're welcome.
So I guess you're kind of wondering what I brought you all here today. Well, today I'd like to talk about role playing. I've met every single one of you guys through different servers that I've played on and role played on, and I'm not afraid to admit it. I'm a little addicted to role play. I think it's fun, and I thought it would be interesting if to have some people with like minds get together and kind of discuss why it is that what got us into role play and what we like about it and what we may sometimes not like about it, and move forward from there. So the way that this is going to work is I will ask questions, and then I'll just kind of go around. Well, it's not around, but to each of the players and stuff like that, or each of the yeah, and and then of course I will answer the questions myself. So let's just kind of get started here. Look, Dad.
At least the kids are wearing clothes.
Yes, they're usually pretty shirtless. All right, so
Yeah, I'm happy about them being clothed.
yes, so I did send you guys a list of the questions. So hopefully y'all had a little time to prepare. There will be expounding questions off those. Those are just kind of base questions, and some of them may have. I even got some that like that question doesn't make any sense. I was like, I guess kind of threw those together. So anyway, first off, what got you into role playing, Peanut Butter Princess?
Oh, I'm first.
Yes, you are.
Actually, it was pretty recent, and it was watching like other people, I guess, play it.
Mm-hmm.
One of the like bigger streamers that I watched started doing it, and then it introduced me to like a whole realm of other people who did it, and it was really fun watching that, and I wanted to like kind of get in on it, I guess.
Right. Okay.
I'm still pretty inexperienced at it, but it's been a lot of fun.
Yeah, I think I met you in Atlas, right? That's
my
that's
first time doing roleplay.
Was it? Was that your first time?
Yep.
You did a very fine job. I remember we had a rhino named Peanut because someone. What was the story behind that?
Was it Prankster? Was that you that called me Peanut? Or was it Drax? It might have been Drax.
It was Drax.
Someone called me Peanut in game, and so we quickly covered it up by saying that the rhinoceros that we were taming was named Peanut. Yeah.
Right.
I love that.
Okay. Alki, what got you into role playing?
About 2 years ago, almost 2 years ago, my roommate started watching our peers streamers on Twitch, and I didn't even know it was a thing. I had no idea that this was something that people did. And the first channel that I watched, it was either Venilus or Fist of the Walrus. But Fist ended up being the one that I really, really got into and was watching.
He's
and
great.
I was just in awe. Like, people do this? This is amazing. It was like, oh. And I had to try it, and I did, and I instantly loved it.
Right.
And I've been doing it ever since, and I love it.
Craftjaw?
Actually, my first experience with roleplay was like forum roleplay and like with chat rooms and
right,
like MSN or Yahoo back in the day. But as far as like Arc and all that other stuff, that roleplay, I first got into it when I watched a few videos on YouTube of Moon on Arc.
Okay.
doing that whole like Viking thing he was doing,
Yeah.
and that got me really interested in it. So I checked out some Twitch channels. I think the first one I checked out, the one that actually pushed me to start playing, was Steel Rain.
Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah, he's I don't know what filters he uses on his voice, but he's got a very strong voice. I always
yeah,
like
he's a I think classically trained actor too.
Is
So
he? Okay. Well, that
yeah.
explains a lot. Prankster, same question to you, bud.
So I originally had my answer, and then I listened to Crafties, and
Yeah.
it brought back a flood of memories.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it was it must have been 4th or 5th grade,
Uh-huh.
and there were like these AOL chat rooms,
Yeah.
and my first character was a black and white dragon that suffered with the duality of being good and evil. So I look back on it now, and I think, oh, and my yeah, but that was probably my first experience
Right.
in terms of like when I actually started picking up other games to play. My next time would have been in high school with a couple buddies, and they got me into a TTRPG called Paranoia.
Mm-hmm.
And the premise of that is like it's a post-apocalyptic world, but everybody's been sheltered in this underground complex for forever,
Mm-hmm.
and everything's controlled by the almighty computer.
Right.
So that was the premise. And it's just ridiculous and off the wall, and people, and there are secret societies, and people have superpowers. But I remember it like coming like away from that game, and I had this like very strong impression where I just thought I can do anything.
Right.
Like
It could be anything.
there's
Right.
no like, yeah, like in a video game, if you're playing an RPG, right, you got your skills, you level up, so on and so forth.
Right.
But in terms of like I, at one point a guy was teleporting all over the place and shooting people, and I had a lasso and I pulled the gun out of his hands.
Wow.
And that was the trigger moment for me where I was like, this is amazing, and I can never go back.
Right. Right. I blew up as an otter, so I know exactly what you're talking about. Smexy, what got you into role playing?
Well, first of all, I didn't even know like what roleplay was.
Right.
And I was watching Aaron's stream. Crafty knows who Aaron is, and some of you guys do too. And I didn't know what the heck it was. I was wondering why she was doing weird voices and trolling people, and I thought, this would actually be really fun. So it's kind of like a mix of what I've always done playing games, just kind of playing a character. So I thought, why not?
Mm-hmm.
And it's honestly been a blast coming up with something different like every time.
Was Ark your first platform, or?
Yeah, I didn't have a PC until like 2018.
Uh-huh.
I've always
Okay.
played on console.
Uh-huh.
So,
not much mods on consoles, right?
No, I did like RP on a GTA server, but it was just us playing in a friend's hosting lobby. But it wasn't the same. We still, acted, but there was no mods and stuff. But it's still like PC and RP is a completely different monster.
Yes, it is. Freebird. And what gets you into RPing?
Well, I've only been doing it for about 3 years now. I started back when Atlas first came out. I had joined a large company of people in Atlas, and a whole bunch of stuff went down in the official servers, and they all decided they wanted to go join Darkside RP.
Right.
So I went over with a bunch of them. Extremely nervous, and I've never done RP in my life, so I didn't know what to do. So I pretty much just put on the worst pirate accent type thing I could possibly do, and just rolled with it. And it just, I don't know, I just fell in love with RPing since then, and it's definitely something I've thoroughly enjoyed doing, and anytime when their seasons end on any of the servers, I just get like, all right, who's got another season going? Let's go. Come on.
Right. Right. Exactly.
Wow. Oh,
Yeah. For me, it's kind of like Crafty. I used to do some role playing in like chat rooms, AOL chat rooms. There was this one thing called, man, I wish I could remember exactly the name of it, but it was pretty neat. You could create an avatar, and the chat rooms were actually web pages.
Was it Guy Online?
Huh?
Guy Online?
I don't know. I don't think so. No, I can't remember.
That's one I did.
Oh, was it? Yeah, it was just like you were like this little icon, and you would go to a chat room, but it was actually a web page, and you could actually go scroll. It was pretty clever. You could scroll to the web page and stuff like that, and be in the chat room and talking. And then I just kind of did that for a long time. But I'm a little bit more advanced than you guys. It's a nice way to say that I'm old. But so single player was the only games that I played for the longest time, and as a matter of fact, outside of Halo or PUBG, I never really did any multiplayer games. So my kid, he's 10 now, but was obsessed with Ark, just obsessed. So I bought him a copy, and I bought me a copy, and started playing Ark, and then I don't know who it was that I was seeing or watching. I think it was someone from Gunsmoke RP, and I was just like, "What? There's cows here. This is like a western. What? This is not dinosaur. There's no dinosaurs here. What's going on here? So that was in the first season, and I put in my application and got accepted. That was literally my first RP experience with the multiplayer, like how we know it now, was with Ark. And I don't know, I did Gunsmoke for 5 of the seasons, almost 6 of the seasons or whatever. I went through, I think, 4 characters maybe. But it was very addictive. It was very addictive for that first couple of seasons. I had to really monitor myself. I've since calmed down, I think, a little bit about it, but I just really enjoyed it. So, how do you develop a character? How do you develop a character? I'm going to start with you, Alki, because I kind of know some of the characters that you've created. So, you got it.
Okay. Yeah. Sorry. I have like 2 different processes. It's weird. I have a lot of different characters that I've come up with just in the past, couple of years that I've been RPing, and at first I fell into those pitfalls, that a lot of people will say don't write too much, like don't plan too much.
Mm-hmm.
Otherwise you're gonna RP yourself in a corner, when you get going, and just kind of let it develop naturally.
Mm-hmm.
And I, when I first started doing it, I wrote like a whole backstory, all just like a lore, basically. And it's fun, like it's cool, but I never got to use any of it in RP because I don't know. There's
right.
People aren't always asking you questions about
where'd you come from?
Yeah. And
tell me about your father. Tell me about what happened to you when you were 4 years old.
Yeah, they don't want to hear like your life story, and so I noticed that my 2 favorite characters and what I think are my 2 best characters, I started with a name and an accent, and that's it, and maybe like a general, not even a personality, but just like how. Are they happy? Are they, are they tough? Kind of like Wileen was like, "Hi, I'm Wileen, I'm very happy all the time." And my other character that I did that with, Ange, was like a super classy New York, like she's tough, but she's classy, kind of thing. And so it was just that's it, nothing else, no backstory, nothing else. And I just jumped into it, and developed the rest as I went. and I feel like that is the process that works best for me. And I wouldn't necessarily recommend that other people do it that way, but for me, just a name and an accent and just a general, shadow of a personality, I guess you could say, and then just jump in and see what happens.
Craftjaw, I know you've, the first time my experience with you was Legato, and that was an interesting person to run into out in the.
Indeed, it was.
Yeah. So how do you develop your characters?
Each character is different, really. Usually I'll like look at the server and base my character around like what they'll allow me to do in the server. Like in Gunsmoke, it was like a Western server, so I was thinking about making maybe like an evil character,
right?
And not quite. It wasn't going to be quite a bandit. Like Legato technically was a bandit, but he didn't do anything.
Right.
The whole concept of Legato started with me wanting to make a Willy Wonka type character.
Okay.
And then I was thinking, I want to be a little bit crazier than that. So I mixed in like I mixed in like the Joker, as people like to point out.
Yeah, it's very for Legato, he's got a very kind of voice similar to Mark Hamill's Joker.
Yeah,
that was one of the things I did. So, a prankster. Now you do a lot of voices and stuff like that. How do you develop your characters and determine on the voices you use?
I guess it kind of started in high school. I was really involved in theater, and my favorite thing to do was improvisation with my friends, improv. And so, we would constantly be making up bits or different parts of story. In regards to characters, I kind of just like to, kind of similar in regards to characters to video games, I kind of take a step back and see, where I am and what I want to play. Right. So it seems pretty simple, but usually I'll have like a couple of different concepts. Like right now I'm playing on Atlas for GGRP. And I had a couple different concepts. I was like, man, I want to be like a big, crazy, strong orc that's just like, oh, tear down your walls, and that's kind of similar to Alki, like just a general personality and a voice. And then I figured things could kind of flesh out. And then I think I had like another one. And then finally, it just came down to what I wanted to play, what I thought would be fun. And so I had an idea this season for like a really snooty noble. And his name is Niles Pemberton the Fourth. Yes, heir to the Pemberton family glass and dye company. And so I just kind of like had this voice that I started off with and then I kind of had fun like tooling around with the personality. And then like, other little pieces of information like started like coming to me, just things that I thought would be important.
Right.
And so I kind of held on to those. And I think, one of the things I've been convicted about when it comes to characters is, I ask myself just a few questions to help me flesh things out. What does my character want? How do they go about getting it? And what is their flaw?
Right. That's classic literature tropes. When you're writing the short stories or whatever, that's very classic process there. So. Yeah.
And so for me, that's just kind of like the thing that I go in, whether it's with TTRPGs or whether it's with these games. I also factor in who I'm playing with. I think the process for a person's got to be kind of malleable in that way.
Right. Smexy, how do you come up with the characters that you've played? Because you've played a variety.
Yeah. Definitely goes based off the server. Kind of that's where we always got to start. It's like, where are we? And then, like, out of all my characters, Sammy definitely was the most challenging character to start off with and then stick to it, because her morals were to back her family no matter what. But with, like, in terms of like improv, Abs challenged the hell out of me.
Yeah,
So, you know, I interacted with you as well. But it honestly, you'd have to. I don't write in-depth backstories. First of all, I don't have the attention span to do it. But I just kind of like start with the name, something that they kind of have a value. So if it's like a person or it's a thing, and then I kind of go off of that. But like Alki said, you know, people will, if they ask who are you, they never want to know your entire life story. So you don't always get that chance to say it, but your actions and the way you respond to things really kind of show that. So that's kind of one of the things where I always keep in mind, because like my backstories probably don't go longer than a paragraph.
Right.
But at the same time, it's always, you know, just the idea and then the voice. I can only do like 4 voices now, so that's an improvement.
Right.
But you know, it's a start, because I want, even if I do the same voice, the characters are never the same.
Right.
But yeah, so that's kind of like just where it is. It's like making that one thing that's different. If they're like a leader type, I've RP'd with Crafty where I played Reagan. When he was playing Legato, she was a psychopath.
Right.
But because of everyone else, she was kind of reeled in, and it was just kind of, you tell her to shoot, she's gonna go shoot type of person, just because of the people around her. So I was always able to like just change some of the way they would normally respond, but not completely like negate the character.
Right. Yeah, Abs. I'm glad you mentioned Abs. She's a very her characters are amazing. I enjoy watching her, and I'll enjoy her stuff, and she just has these flourishes and stuff like that. And I noticed that's one of the things when I do recall whenever I was whenever my character interacted with your character, I always enjoyed the little flourishes that you put in Sammy. They're like, oh, you know, those type of little things. So it was always kind of fun, made it really fun. And I don't know, I forgot who it was that was playing the other. Do you remember us going and doing a cattle drive? And it was just like the cattle drive from hell.
It was me, you, and Dottie.
Dottie, that's right.
We were all on the raft, and like the cows kept falling off. And gators were attacking us. It was just terrible.
Yeah, but it made for some really great RP. It was really fun to do. So and Dottie is just her RP. I mean, you can actually hear her thinking. I don't know how else to explain it, but like whenever her character is like working through something, you're almost working through it with her in the process with her. So it was really good too. Freebird, how do you come up with the characters that you come up with?
Honestly, my very first character, I usually just I go to a fantasy name generator, and depending on the type of character, which race I'm using, I'll go with that, like a Viking name or an orc name or whatever, and I go pick the first name, and then I pick the last name, and I go from there, and then I play the game.
Right. Right.
But
pretty much.
My first character I created, his name was Blackstone Firebeard.
Right.
And he was just this eccentric pirate who was super polite to everyone. Every time he'd walk up to you, be like, "Hello there," and he'd bow and everything. Every time, and it became a meme on the server for a while. Every time, like, "Oh, here comes Blackstone. Wait for it," and there's his bow.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just basically create the character with the names, and depending on what kind of company I'm going into, go with a different type of accent. I remember because I'm on GG right now as well.
Right. Mm-hmm.
And
a few of y'all are on that.
Just before the last wipe, I was part of the Reavers. So my character, I have a Go XLR, so I used a voice changer for my last character.
Mm-hmm.
So man, he was also. I seem to think I make just extremely polite people. Doesn't matter what they do.
Right.
He's very
even if they're evil, they're polite.
Exactly.
they're polite about it.
He was a polite pirate or a polite person who would sacrifice you to the gods.
So my character development has always been pretty. I think I don't know who it was, but when I developed my character for my first character, Cliff Rusty, for Gunsmoke, one of the streamers sit there and said, "Hey, you know what? Just make it, just keep it very simple, and just go with it, and let the RP design your character for you." And it was probably the best advice I could have gotten, because it was the advice I used for the rest of my characters. All my characters are pretty. They have an intelligent part about them, but they come off as kind of like not really intelligent, and they're usually pretty smart, like in Whippy, and it's kind of like me. I really use myself as a basis for a lot of stuff when it comes to my RP characters, because I draw from the source that I know, right? So let's talk about interactions. Peanut.
You didn't ask Peanut.
Peanut. I'll ask you. You've come up with another character. How do you come up with your characters?
I mean, I only have made one release so far.
Yeah, right.
And I based her pretty strongly off the kind of premise of the group that I was joining in Atlas, which was like the Four Horsemen. And so I kind of couldn't pick one of the Four Horsemen, so I just made an old lady character who'd had 4 husbands and killed them all, and they were each based off of one of the horsemen.
Right.
So she had kind of this like weird past, but
Right.
like none of it showed, except it would just like randomly pop up in conversation sometimes.
Right.
So like I kind of had a detailed history written out. It was very vague, so I didn't have like details, but I had kind of an idea of what had happened, and then I'd just kind of make up details on the spot if it came up.
Do you feel like you got
That's
to flesh out?
did
you feel like you got to flesh out your character during that season of Dark Side?
A little bit.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It was an interesting season because I didn't play like the end part as much because a lot of like life stuff was going on.
Right.
Season stuff.
Right.
But it was a fun character to like start with.
So
and I think I learned a lot.
What would be your favorite RP interaction that you've had there, Peanut? Do you think of? That you can think of?
I think one of my favorite ones was with I think it was Joe. He was just like one of the people that was on like all the time, like helping collect resources and like basically helping keep everything running. And I was like very new to the game itself as a whole too. So I was learning how to tame, like breed animals, and I went to breed some horses. Like our first 2 horses, I went out and like spent hours like catching them myself, running after them, and then I went to breed them, and it took a long time to do. So I was just kind of standing there like watching these horses, and Joe was just like there with me the whole time. And he didn't like talk much as a character. He talked a lot in like grunts, so we just kind of like sat there together. And then I let him name the horse, and he named it Little Joe, and it was a really fun interaction. And I just like enjoyed that dedication.
Okay.
From him.
Oh, that's awesome. Alki, what's your favorite RP interaction that you've had, as you can recall?
I have so many, like so many that were so awesome that it's really hard to choose. So I'm gonna pick 2.
Okay.
One was when we were playing Ark a while ago, and I was on by myself.
Right.
I was gathering resources, and guess who just happens to just roll on up and start talking to me out of nowhere? Fist of the Walrus.
Oh yeah.
I recognized his voice right away,
Uh-huh.
immediately, and I was like, "Oh my god, I don't care, it's fine." And I just I did my thing.
You were awestruck.
And yes, he's my favorite streamer and role player. Like, yeah, and so his character had just started, and he needed help, so I took him back to the house and gave him a bunch of stuff and talked about him opening up a a chicken restaurant. His character was a Colonel Sanders type, but really unethical and treated his employees terribly. And he's explaining this to me, and then offered to hire me, and I'm like, no, that doesn't sound like a good idea. But it was awesome. It was so much fun, and I was shaking by the end of it because I was so excited. And I just remember finishing and being like, oh my god. So that was amazing. And then my other one was more recently. It was on the DayZ server that we were on before, not this one, but the one before. And it was I don't know if I could call it a hostile interaction, because they weren't pointing guns at me or telling me to do anything or robbing me, but it was a villain. Obviously, it was a bad guy. It was a creepy, I don't know if it was a supernatural type character or what, but I was terrified.
Was that at the ship?
Yeah, it was the ship interaction. Yeah. Timeslip's character was there at the time, but he was out of voice range a lot of the time, so he didn't hear me, and I wasn't streaming, and I'm so bummed about that. But I was screaming and crying, and my husband had to close the windows because he was afraid that our neighbors would hear me and think that something was actually wrong. I got so into it, and I was terrified and crying, but at the same time, it's like being on a roller coaster. I don't know. It was the most intense, immersive RP experience I've ever had, and it was.
Well, Smexy, I know that you got to get going. Would you be able to answer the question before you leave? I know she's got some other prior engagements to go ahead and be with.
I mean, I don't have a specific moment. I guess I just have favorite groups. Mine and Crafty's interaction as the Banshees was my favorite. The Skinner is definitely up there, but me and Dottie recently we've been RPing together like crazy.
Joe and Birdie.
Joe and Birdie. I'm crying, laughing every time. It's not even just forced, and people think that we've been friends forever, but I met her through Arc RP. So just being that simple and just being able to improv and everything just bounce back at me, it's been a blast. But I don't have a specific moment. I mean, I've been on the side of hostile RP like Alki has, and shit's scary.
Yeah.
So and me being the aggressor sometimes, I'm over here scared, I don't want to mess anything up and miss the shot. So it's a good time. I'm not always the scary person I'm playing. I'm actually a really nice person, so it's really fun just overall, I guess, doing all of that stuff. But I mean, yeah, I don't know any specific moments.
Sure, that's fine. It's good. Well, that's a good thing, right? Because that means you've had too many, right?
Yeah.
All right. Well, Spexy, thank you for joining us. I know that you, like I said, you have to get going, and appreciate your time. And you have yourself a good evening.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, you guys.
Thank you.
Thanks for having me.
All right. Thank you. Bye.
Have a good one.
Thank you, Smexy. Bye.
Bye.
Smexy.
All right, so now I gotta adjust my camera. Watch the professor's on top of Peanut Butter Princess. We need to stop that right away.
There we go.
All right. How do I? Now I need to send me the back. Let me see. Hold on a second. How down? Let's put me all the way back here. There. Oh, that's too far back.
Excuse me.
Boomer.
While you're doing that,
What?
there was one time when it was a while ago. The first time that I met Smexy was on a GTA RP server, and I got to what's that? Oh, thank you for following Smexy.
Oh, you get the alerts.
Yeah. I hear him. I got to interview her in character. Like my character interviewed her character for a newspaper article,
Yeah, that was great.
And I wrote. Oh, which one was cool? Yeah.
She was
the Ghostbusters.
the Ghostbusters. Yeah, with Peggy.
Mm-hmm.
With Peggy.
That
pretty
was
good.
So fun. Anyway.
The biggest dogs, yeah. But you all had some pretty tricked out rides, that's for sure.
Yeah. I really liked those characters a lot.
Yeah.
They were fun.
But Craftjaw, what's one of your favorite RP interactions?
I would have to say probably during SKRP, that's Seven Kingdoms roleplay. That was a Game of Thrones roleplay server.
Mm-hmm.
I was playing as a blacksmith and named Crafty, and he was he usually just stayed home. He had a neighbor that he interacted with a lot.
Mm-hmm.
And I would go over there sometimes while he was doing like a love counseling thing in this like a open-faced building that he had, and he would just counsel people over stuff, and I would just lie down in a bush and pretend to be a bush, and just make backhanded comments all the time.
That sounds really fun.
I'm a bush.
No, I'm just a bush.
Prankster.
He's not gonna be successful, by the way. Yeah.
Go ahead, Prankster.
Yeah, man. It's really hard. I had a lot of fun with Atlas last season on DSRP. I played Helazar Grem, and there are like 3 moments that stuck out to me.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot more, but the 3 that stuck out to me the most was early on in the season, the leader from our pirate group, the Hellsteeds, got captured.
Right, I remember that.
Raina?
Yeah, I remember.
Yeah,
Raina, yes. Yeah.
Sorry, I'm trying to wrangle children as well. The office is mine once again.
Yay!
So yeah, Raina got captured. It was like an early thing, and I heard through the grapevine my character that the ship went down and that she'd been missing for a while, and it was with the Navy. So I just assumed, okay, I'm gonna go and check Navy Island, and I went all by myself with 4 bears to the Navy Island last season, who just absolutely wrecked everybody. And I got into this, I don't know, maybe like 30, 45 minute long RP with Vanalis.
Yeah.
And I just came off as bumbling, because that's what my character was. He was, he's all Gren, right? And he was just good natured, but also kind of bumbling. And so anyway, I tried to lie my way through it, and it clearly everybody could see through it. It was supposed to be, and so that was a lot of fun. And then there was another moment, actually, I think it was that same thing, like on the way home, after we got back to the base. I know that a lot of us have been talking about like backstory and whether or not to include it or not, but part of Helazar's backstory was that his wife and kid died.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was trying to think about, like, that was part of his connection to the Hellsteeds, and how he got like caught up into the cult was because he saw Raina as his daughter.
Right.
And so it led to this real like touching and emotional moment between Raina and my character that I wouldn't have been able to have. It was just really awesome.
That's fantastic.
And then it was really, really cool. So I mean, those are 2 of the ones that kind of stuck out to me. And I know I said there was a third one, but I'm just oh, and then I also and there was another time I got to interact with Vanalis, and I gave him a horse I named Gonorrhea, because if you followed my character, he named all of his horses after diseases. So my claim to fame after that was giving the entire Navy and giving the Admiral gonorrhea, and it was pretty great.
That's good. All right, Freebird, what's your favorite?
That's great.
What's your favorite RP story?
Yeah, so the last season of Dark Side, I had played with a company called Blackhaven.
Mm-hmm.
And we always teamed up with another company, and we'd go out and just sail around, pirate people and everything. And we came across two Navy vessels coming straight at us, and they happened to be Captain Duncan's ship and one other captain. And he had been known throughout the entirety of all pirates to just be completely sinking every pirate ship he saw.
Right.
Nobody could stop him. Well, until that day, we took him out pretty fast, and then we had this whole RP session on the ships of who's going to get them, which company is taking them where, and we almost actually got into another ship battle between our allies because we wanted to protect the Navy people. Our company, we got it. Pretty much most of everyone was like a Southern type character, so we're all super nice and everything.
Right.
We have honor and all that, and so we ended up taking the Captain Duncan, the Vice Admiral Tiberius Webster, and a bunch of other just sailors back to their port in a black sailed ship. And then we're like shooting off a green flare, asking for medical assistance for their Navy men and everything. It was probably one of my most favorite moments in RP because of the amount of RP that we had that day.
Right.
I think we spent almost like 4 hours just talking to each other. So it's probably my favorite moment.
Yeah, you have to be careful with the RP, because sometimes it goes way too late.
It just keeps going. Next thing you know, you're like,
oh my God,
I have to go.
I have to be at work in like 10 minutes, and I've been up all night.
But that's what I love about RPing. You just, if it's good, it just keeps going and flowing, and I love that.
Yeah, I enjoy the there's several things about my RP that I enjoyed. I try to think of a single moment that was my favorite. There's quite a few. A lot of it happened on Gunsmoke RP. There was one one instance where my character was torn between two female characters, and he finally had to get to the point where he had to tell one of them that, I'm sorry, but I like this other person, and or I like this other person, and she did it. She did it so well, and that at the time that he was telling her that, I'm sorry, I like this other person and stuff like that. It was like a rainstorm started happening, right? It started putting down, and like thunder and lightning's going on, and she just kind of like, I forgot exactly what it was she said, but it was so evil. It was so, yeah, it was just like, I had the clip, and then I looked for it. I was going to show it, excuse me, but I can't find the clip now, but whatever. But for like the rest of the RP, she keeps popping up in these situations where she's off in the distance wearing a witch's hat. And it was just that's Aya Mimi. She did so brilliant way that playing a woman scorned, right? And
Arya, okay, I follow her.
Yeah, Aya Mimi. Yeah, she's yeah. She was. That's how I met her. And unfortunately, the other lady is that was RPing with. She's no longer with us, but it was just a really good thing. And then later on that season, my character ends up dying, and it was a tragic end for, and it was just like couple days before all the Banshees were executed as well. So it was which was Craftjaw's group. He was the only one to survive.
R.I.P.
Yeah. He was the only survivor of that group there.
Can I interject something really quick?
Yeah.
I think one of the things that like really makes those types of moments that we're talking about is people's willingness to do dumb things. Right. Like you're willing to, everybody, and it's hard because like you're in a game, and because like if you're anything like me, you struggle between wanting to be good at the game. Like I want to do well at the game. I want to play, like I want to gather the resources. I want to build the best thing. I want to have the best fight, etc. But role play, for it to succeed and for you to do your best, sometimes you have to do the dumb thing.
Right.
You have to do the stupid thing that would get your character into trouble, or the thing that will, any of that. And I think that that's what really helps, moments like that conflict that's created. It's hard because that's another thing about me is like I shy away from conflict. I don't like to fight with people, but it is funny just how imperative that can be for like those moments that cause you to remember.
Right.
Those moments that we're talking about right now that like just stick out.
Right.
Because yeah.
And of course, any interaction that right now that Max and Ange have together, I don't think they have a lot of time, as much time as I would like them to have together. But we kind of right now, because of my job, we're kind of keeping different schedules than we were. But that pair as kind of they're an old couple. They've been a couple that've been together for a long time but never been married, and that is just kind of like a contention,
a sore spot.
Yeah, sore spot or whatever. This creates all these types of things, but they're perfect together because between the two of them they share a brain. So it's pretty. It's been a pretty good thing. So I've been lucky to find a RP partner that puts up with some really crazy dumb shit that I come up with. So but yeah, you're right. It is people who are willing to put themselves out there. And unfortunately,
what?
Go ahead.
I was just gonna say it reminds me of a particular instance of where we were RPing together, but I was Wileen and you were Hugo, I think.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And you were put on trial.
Hugo.
And I had to defend you. And Wileen thought she was doing a great job, but I knew I purpose. It was so funny, and I kind of threw him under the bus.
Yeah.
But of course, Wileen thought she was helping, and afterwards, one of the judges or whatever, he came up to me he approached me alone and he was like, well, I don't think you helped your friend very much, but I have to say that was great to watch. It was kind of like a kudos in character kudos. It was great. It was really funny. And Hugo was angry, but I think you thought it was pretty funny.
Oh yeah. Of course.
Yeah.
Poor Hugo. Hugo was lost. I forgot what happened to Hugo. I completely forgot about him. We've done a lot of characters. But anyway, so Peanut. Questions for you. What are some things that someone's got a fan. Some things that people do in RP that just kind of makes you cringe. What is something that kind of rubs you the wrong way in RP?
I guess it's hard for me not having a lot of experience with it.
Mm-hmm.
I liked with the group that we were with in the Hellsteeds and Atlas that we tried to keep all of our kind of communication in game.
Yes,
I remember watching other people and they would be like, "Oh, we're doing this or doing that," which all referred to sending messages in Discord or doing things out of the game.
Send a raven.
For me, it was that just pulls me out of it. I want to use the game to solve the problems in the game, kind
Right.
of, and role play it that way. Like, let a
I'll
game
be in my head for
mechanic
5 minutes, right?
create more role play kind of thing.
Right.
And I tried to kind of encourage that a little bit as my character by making mailboxes for every single person in our crew, and then I would try to write notes to people, like to like get them to like check their mail and to like write things and to encourage that in-game communication.
Right.
I always look forward to getting messages from your character.
Yeah, that's kind of what I'm probably actually going to open that up. Open that question up for anybody who wants to answer. What's kind of one of those things that makes you cringe? I see in chat someone talking about strange voices I was hearing there. Sorry. I'm going in my head for 5 minutes, or I'm going into my head for 5 minutes. What does that mean? Going into my head or whatever. There's a storm coming. You know, or
yeah, I think that there's just kind of like a nomenclature I mean, here's the thing: is all these games ultimately are insufficient.
Mm-hmm.
They're fun, they're great, but there's no like, crap happens, and like if you need to step away because you have to use the bathroom or what have you, or like me, I've got kids going on in the background, so
right.
sometimes I'll be like, oh, those are the monkeys from my brain, and so
well, that's a little bit better than saying voices in my head,
yeah. But I mean, I see what you're saying. Like, I don't know if that part necessarily makes me cringe. Like when I first, like, I can see how it would for some people, but for me, I just assumed like, oh, that's part of the language that these people use. There's, and like, even though we're all speaking English, like when I first heard that, I was like, what the hell does it mean to be in your head?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, you eventually kind of get used to it.
Yeah, and but it's easy enough to say, excuse me, but I have to go. I'll be back. And then go
you need to go meditate real quick.
Or like I remember when I would watch, one of the streamers I watched a lot was Brutal Bree, and
I remember
like she would go to the bathroom, and it's like, okay, well, her character just goes down to the bottom of the boat or wherever, takes a bucket with her, and she's going to the bathroom. She's just AFK.
Yep.
So like, I don't know, like come up with like an in-character reason. Not every character hears voices in their head, kind of thing. So
right.
I liked seeing the creativity, I guess, and stuff like storm coming for the like server restarts or stuff. Totally makes sense to say in game because someone may not have Discord like open to get those pings and know that they need to be able to log off.
Usually a good server though will have server messages that come up and let you know. So you don't have to interrupt the RP in order to make it or order to do that.
That makes sense, yeah.
Did you want to chime in on this, Crafty or Freebird?
As far as the whole what makes me cringe
in
RP?
Yeah.
Like name plating. That's what makes me cringe. Like when I'm trying to sneak up on into like a bush or something, and they walk over like, "What are you doing?" And I'm like, "God damn it! Stop name playing me, son of a bitch!"
Yeah, Ark is very infamous for that, right?
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. I think one of my cringiest things and my biggest pet peeve is when you're just RPing things out, and then all of a sudden someone role plays you in RP, and it's just like, just go with the RP.
Mm-hmm.
Don't role play it. Just go with the RP. You can deal with it later. OOC. Oh.
So I've legit never heard of rule play. What is that?
So it's pretty much like if there's a rule saying you can't do this.
Right. You see somebody doing it.
Like, yeah, they're going to be like, oh, well, the gods say you shouldn't do this. Like,
oh, that's awful.
Thanks. I get that. Can we continue?
Yeah.
It's. Well, I'd rather, like, if somebody does break a rule or something like that, you just deal with it later, OOC. Let the role play continue and see where it goes.
Right. Yeah. Along with that is like, I don't care too much for the hands up RP. Where it's just like, So
Can you explain that?
It's more common on something like DayZ or
Okay.
GTA or whatever, where you're being robbed, and they initiate the RP by saying, "Put your hands up, we're gonna blow your heads off." There's like no,
that's lame.
yeah, there's no like lead up. It's just a wham bam, thank you ma'am, and they take off and that type of stuff. And, or they don't give you an opportunity to talk your way out of it or anything like that. It's just, it's just, I don't understand it. I don't know why. Well, I mean I do. Those are the people that usually come from a PvP server and they say, oh well, I see the streamer playing RP. I'll play on RP too because you got a lot of suckers on there that are just going to sit there and give over their shit because of value of life, blah blah blah. But but I know that happens quite a bit. But so that's something that kind of gets me too, and I've experienced more recently. It's just so unsatisfying. Listen, whenever I go in to go RP, my train of thought is how anytime I interact with something, how am I going to make this person's experience enjoyable? Okay. And through that's how I'm going to make my experience enjoyable. And you could do that with hostile RP too. I have been robbed by on RP servers, and it was fun because you get your adrenaline pumping, and you get really into it. And they're really into it and stuff like that. I remember we had in Gunsmoke. I'm going to refer back to that. We had probably, to me, the best bad guy was in the first 2 seasons was Jeremiah Oakdale. He was able to be polite and create a thorough interaction while he was robbing you blind. And but it was like, you were like, oh my gosh, I was really it was not like hey, put your hands up or I'm going to blow you away. That's so lame. All right. I know.
Can I say something before we move on?
Yeah, sure.
Awesome. So I think that they're a little. I think the thing that bothers me most, that's the most cringy for me, is when people kind of ignore the back and forth of RP, right? There's a time for you to speak, and then there's a time for you to listen.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes when people like dominate that, like I can understand that, and maybe that's like the dynamic of the relationship, right? Like one person does all the talking, and one person sits there, like like Lenny and George from Of Mice and Men. But
right.
But like when you have people who are competent and who know, and like when one person's talking the whole time and you can't get a word in edgewise, it's like kind of just want to be like, well, I want to play too,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
That's a good point.
You seem to have a handle on this by yourself, so I'll go over here. You can RP with yourself, I guess.
Yeah.
Great monologue you got there.
Yeah. Yes.
Exactly.
That's what I was.
You
that
keep
was
talking.
My
You
thing.
let me know when I come back.
Yeah.
Right.
My pet peeve is when people do like monologues in RP, and it's like, this isn't the you show, like this is like a collective effort, like we're all playing pretend, we're all playing make believe together. And it's like when you're little kids, for me being a girl, in our group of friends, there was always the girl who's like, I'm the princess and I'm the prettiest one, and you guys have to do what I say all the time.
Clearly,
and, like,
the princess is right there. I can see her.
And it's like it's frustrating because that's not fun for anyone except for you.
Right.
And
right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Actually, when I played House with our neighbors when I was a kid, I played the dog.
Oh no!
I had a very good bark. I had a very good barking impression.
So
Quite proud of it.
actually, I have a question. Do you mind if I ask a question?
Yeah, go ahead.
Real quick.
Go ahead.
So one of the things I've noticed in the community is that it generally blows the proportion, like the normal video proportion out of the water. Like normally video games are pretty male dominated,
Right.
more guys on the hand. But I have seen a lot of women, and I've role played with a lot of women on Atlas or Arc or things like that. And so I'm just curious as to you ladies' perspective. Why do you think that's the case?
For me personally, it's like getting to play pretend and getting to play make believe, and also kind of getting to like do dress up like Barbie dolls, you know. Like I have a character, I get to make her look pretty, I get to give her purple and red hair, and like I can do whatever I want, you know, like, and it's fun. Like I get to make her cute and dress her up, and then and so I think that's probably part of the appeal for it, and also it takes you back to when you were little and like we're playing make believe,
Right.
like pretend with your friends.
Right. That's a good point. So we're going to switch gears a little bit. Oh wait, before we switch gears over to TTRPGs, is there anybody else that would like to mention something about their RP experience, and such? Dave, I like the storytelling. All right, that's why I think that's why I do the RP and the TTRPG. Growing up, pretending to be people that you were not was a thing that you did as kids, right? Star Wars.
Yeah.
Star Wars. We would always play. My friend Stephanie, she always wanted to be Darth Vader because she thought he was cool, and I would always have to be Luke Skywalker because who's who. But I wanted to be Darth Vader too. But yeah, it was. But you collectively are telling a story together, and it starts. I think that's one of the most primal forms of entertainment, right? Whenever you're sitting around a campfire, there's storytelling and stuff like that. That's what we're doing as our peers.
Oh, yeah. People have been telling stories together for ages.
Mm-hmm. Right. So there's some sort of inane, primal.
Do you mean innate?
Innate. Yeah, innate. Did I say inane? Oops. Innate,
yes.
Primal need that is met whenever we RP. I believe that, and I know that some people that don't RP may scoff at it and may think, what are these people doing? What they're pretending like the furries or whatever. I don't understand furries or whatever, but I mean, if that's your bag, I mean, cool, go for it. I thought you were about to put out a. Never mind. I thought you were going to put on a furry helmet or something like that. Okay, no, it was his hat. But
oh, you thought it was.
put on like a wolf head or something like that.
Oh no, that's awesome. But yeah, I'm with you on that. The storytelling is always great.
Mm-hmm.
I always feel like if I'm in on an RP server and I'm just gathering and stuff, and nobody's RP'd with me, and I'm logging off for the night, I'm like, well, I did absolutely nothing today.
That's right.
Even though I've gathered
like 20,000 pieces of wood.
Yeah, but I did nothing. This is boring. I want to go out there and just RP with everyone, get a huge story going with just the entire server. Oh my god. Can't.
All right, sloth.
I don't know which one's crafty and which is prankster now.
No, it's a sloth.
Yeah, it's a sloth,
I got
right?
my hat too.
That's gotta be
the fox.
I love it.
What does the fox say?
My son got this as like a Christmas present. It's like a big badger head. He loved it.
Oh,
badger.
Great.
That's great. I love it.
I think it was fitting given the conversation.
Very nice. All right, so we're going to go switch gears over to TTRPGs and why we play those. And Peanut, I'm going to start with you. Why do you think there's been a resurgence in RPG? Do you feel there's been a resurgence in TTRPGs, and why do you think that is?
I think yes, definitely, and there's multiple reasons why.
Mm-hmm.
it's partly because of like the digital age and like people streaming them a lot, which is kind of how I got more exposed to it, was by coming across it in a stream and being captivated by this storytelling experience. Growing up, I never had like those friends who did tabletop roleplay or Dungeons and Dragons or anything. I didn't have those kinds of friends, so I had no experience with that, and I'd heard of it and thought it was interesting, but didn't know anybody that did it. So I had no like opportunity to get into it. So by like watching it, I started to realize, oh, there's a lot more people that do this, and they're online.
Right.
So I think that's kind of encouraged more people, I think, to realize how accessible it is.
How about you, Aki?
Well, I think I do think there has actually been a resurgence in it recently. I only started getting into it a few months ago, so I can't say when it started becoming more popular again. I do think that more recently a big reason is COVID and people having to stay inside all the time. Yeah, and still craving that social interaction. And this is a great way to do it because it's it's a reason to kind of get online and in a group with someone. There's like sure, there's like Discords and stuff where people can just go on and chat, but a lot of people need like a structured activity to be social, and I think it's filling that need right now. And I also think that the whole like nerd culture being cool now, like it's cool to be a nerd, it's people are seeing that. Yeah,
I don't know. I think nerds have always had their cruel slot, but go ahead.
But people are seeing that like cool people do it too, or like into this kind of thing too, and myself included, I'm not super proud of this, but like before I thought that it was the type of thing that only a certain type of person was into.
Right.
And as I kind of got more into online gaming and like multiplayer gaming and RP and like meeting lots of people online, I realized that so many different people are into it and have been into it for so long. And I think my experience is what a lot of other people are experiencing, where it's cool now, and so they're learning about it because they're being exposed to it more, and it's actually a really fun, cool thing to do.
Right.
So of course, a lot of people who are being exposed to it for the first time, they want to try it.
How about you, Crafty? What do you feel about the resurgence of TTRPGs?
I feel like it's mainly because of like you said, the times. Like right now, everybody has to stay inside, so they're like, how can I still socialize with people? How can I still get out there and do do what needs to be done? And people are like, well, I always wanted to do TTRPGs, but never had the time to do it. And now I have all this spare time. I can go ahead and just do it.
Right. I got you. Prankster?
Man, I definitely think there's a resurgence. I remember when I was a kid, part of my reluctance, I don't know about a lot of you, but was like the whole satanic panic and how just D&D was I don't know how many people have been impacted by that, but for me, for the longest time, and it's funny that I say this out loud too, because like I grew up watching my dad play Diablo 1.
Yeah.
And I mean that's like pretty gothic and hardcore.
Yeah.
But for some reason D&D had this stigma. That's the right word. Yeah, it had this stigma with being related to Satanism and all these other things. And I remember like the first time I tried with my buddies in high school, and I was really
nervous,
hesitant.
Yeah,
because I think there was a lot of like misinformation. I
Yeah.
think there's a lot of misinformation that was out there. I think there was a lot of stereotypes.
No,
And
you
I
guys
think
probably
that,
don't remember this, but know this, but in the early, I think it was the early '80s, there was a movie that came out, and I can't recall what the movie was titled, but it was a cautionary tale against Dungeons and Dragons and role playing games, where one of the kids that was playing it took it too far and did that to like murder the other kids, and thing. So yeah, that was kind of I think at the kind of the crest of the panic, the satanic panic, pandering towards those types of things. But yeah, continue what you were saying.
Well, it kind of. Oh, I was just gonna say, and I think that more and more people have come out about like, oh yeah, they used to play. Like I remember at one point hearing like Tina Fey or Stephen Colbert or Joe, what's his face? He's married to Emma Longoria. Yeah, like he's a big D&D advocate, and
he's got a whole basement.
And it's funny because so I had this opportunity to where I started to play, and I just kind of put all that to the wayside. I'm like, this is all kind of bullcrap that people are talking about. And I've talked to you all before about how I used to be a youth director, and one of the things that I used to do was a monthly nerd night instead of like our normal youth group activities. And so we'd play like board games. A couple times I came and I GM'd this game called Mutants and Masterminds for my kids. And I'll always remember it to this day. I had these two twins who were super quiet and reserved. And they were playing just like some generic heroes that I gave them, and they were having, some fun. And I remember we got to like the big boss, and it doesn't really even matter. Like I think I called him like Volcanus, and he like shot fire at people and totally over the top evil and maniacal. And I remember one of those reserved kids just like standing up in the heat of the moment, and is like, I'm gonna do this, and they like. And I was just like taken aback, and I realized to myself, like, not only has TTRPGs done a great disservice, but on top of that, I think that there's a hidden potential in them for people to, for lack of a better way, I can't think of the right way to put it, but to help them explore parts of themselves, or to unlock things that maybe they didn't see before. Because I remember from that day, that kid was like, I don't want to say like super confident, but like I could like see this trajectory from that moment, from her like gaining more confident. Like she would want to like read more out loud and speak more. And so, I mean, I think you got like all of these things, and I think the digital age and like all these things that we're talking about have really created an opportunity. For me, I know the one reason why I got back into it 2 years ago was I listened to a couple podcasts, and it reminded me of like those old radio dramas that people would listen to in the 20s and the 30s.
And that's how WASD got started, by the way.
Yeah.
Yeah. You hear these like secret, you hear these like different voices and characters and sound effects, and you just kind of get drawn into the story. And no matter how old you are, you've got 60-year-old people who are still reading Stephen King and other fiction books. People love stories, and apparently I have a naked child. Hi.
All right, Freebird, I'm going to hand the question off to you. How what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I honestly have no idea, because I've never played any tabletop games.
Wow.
I mean, I played a couple, one shots with you guys, but that's legit it. I've never done anything else. Never really had anybody to do that with.
What made you want to jump in the water for that?
Mainly watching Critical Role.
Yeah.
I got really into that, and I started buying some of the books for that for Dungeons and Dragons and stuff like that, and
Yeah.
dice.
Matt Mercer. Matt Mercer is
Yeah.
one of the. He's. I think that we're talking about COVID, we're talking about being shut in and stuff like that, but I really think that we need to look at Critical Role and their contribution. What they did is so Critical Role, for those of you who don't know what it is a D&D group, okay, and they've been doing this for about 4 years now, I think, 4 or 5 years or whatever. And basically what they did is they got a whole bunch of voice actors, people that you would...
Nerdy-ass voice actors.
Yeah, ones that you could hear. I mean, if you watched anything on Cartoon Network, you'd hear their voice. You'd recognize them almost immediately. You're like, oh my gosh, that's Beast from whatever.
If you played WoW and Jaina Proudmoore, she's one of the people.
Yeah. So so he had the idea of let's get together these voice actors and I'll DM these guys, and then they developed these characters that I think they've had the same characters this whole time. I don't think
they did one whole thing with Vox Machina.
Yeah, right.
And they recently, I think, last year or the year before, started a whole new campaign.
Okay.
And they've been running with those ones. So
Okay.
I got to catch up on them for that one too.
So I think that a lot of credit needs to be given to Matt Mercer as far as that, and I think some of it is the times. Critical or Roll20 is very instrumental in making it because they provide a platform for free in order to run your games on, and you don't have to be. It doesn't have to be the kid down the street. It could be the kid from India, that you play with and stuff like that. It does, as long as you can. He's up at the time you are, but So I did play some Roll20 games, well before I was playing Arc on role playing on Arc. That's actually where I met Divinity. I met him through those old Roll20 sessions. Let me think here. So I believe that there was a starting of it. I think that it does help that celebrities are coming out and saying it and stuff like that. But I think it would have happened anyway. I came from a pretty religiously conservative family. And we weren't allowed. I was not allowed to be around Dungeons and Dragons, but I was always asking about it and stuff like that. And I think my mom was like, "Okay, so I'm going to help satiate this need," and I think she bought me a James Bond role playing game. Okay, now at first on the surface, James Bond role playing game may sound kind of cool, but if you know anything about James Bond and about role-playing, James Bond rolls by himself. It's not like he has a group of people that rolls with him. I mean, whoever really thought, oh, well, you know what? I'm going to sit down and dedicate all this energy to making a role-playing game about James, the 007 program or the 00 program. And it's all like, well, they go on solo missions. They don't work together. There's not groups. I mean, yeah, you got NPCs that you may work with, like Felix Leiter or whatever. And then I went out and bought on my own Marvel superheroes RPG, and I really wish I would have kept that because it's kind of a hard thing to find now. But you can play superheroes or whatnot. But I could never find anybody to play with. They wanted to play Dungeons and Dragons. They wanted to play Dungeons and Dragons, and of course I was not allowed. So whatever. And then in my 20s,
sucks.
Yeah, in my 20s and 30s, I just that was just my priority was girls and music. So but in the past, like I said, with the resurgence with the Roll20, I can't remember what came first for me, Critical Role or Roll20. I think it was Roll20. I just kind of stumbled across it. I was like, I wonder if there's like a place where people can meet together. I was looking for like a bulletin board system,
Yeah.
Yeah, a BBS, guys. Yeah, that's how old I am. But instead I found Roll20, and I was doing that, and then of course I discovered Critical Role and such like that. So, Peanut, you've how many systems have you played with so far on role playing? Just Starfinder and Pathfinder.
Pathfinder, Starfinder. I did like a one-shot 5e game.
Love 5e, by the way.
What, like January or something? It was like 4 sessions or something like that with some people. And then that one time I played that one game of with the prankster, whatever that was called. There with P.
Paranoia?
That you pulled me in. Yeah, Paranoia. That one I did that one session of that.
That was fun.
Yeah.
It was.
So that's really it.
role-play.
But I've watched some other stuff, and I think I love the diversity and the there's such a huge variety of them out there.
Right.
It seems like there's just so many opportunities to try things.
So which one has been your favorite to play so far?
I really enjoyed Pathfinder. Starfinder, I feel like I'm still kind of like finding my groove with it.
I like Farrell's and I'm blanking your character's name. Interactions. That's great. I like those interactions that we have.
Yeah, I'm trying to.
Farrell obsessed about a pool.
Go for it more.
Yeah, good. Alki, what systems have you played, and which ones have been your favorite?
I've only played Pathfinder 1 and 2 and Starfinder. I like Pathfinder 2. I really like how it's like a simplified version. At least that's how it seemed for me. Very beginner friendly. So I like it because of that. But I think I like Starfinder better because of the theme, like just the whole space theme.
Yeah.
And the different races, and it's like
your brain.
You know,
You're a floating brain.
So much. Yeah, the fact that you can be a floating brain, it's
pretty great.
Amazing. Yeah, I really like Starfinder a lot.
Yes. Crafty, what systems have you used, and which one are you favoring?
I've used let's see, I played 5th edition D&D like for one session. I did a little small one, like a small one-off called Honeypot, where you played bears. Okay. And you had to like steal honey from yeah. And then there was another one that I wanted to check out, but I haven't like looked into it yet, and that's Pokemon tabletop RPG. And I don't want to GM. I'd rather be a player.
Yeah.
But I don't know anybody who would GM that. So
I won't. I do. I will let you know.
Exactly. But other than that, it's just what you guys have played with me, and so far, I would say probably D&D was my favorite.
I can see that. All right, Prankster, how about you? You must have a laundry list.
Yeah. Well, I started off with Paranoia. I played Mutants and Masterminds, which is superhero themed. When you were talking about the Marvel one earlier, that's what I thought of.
Yeah.
I have played the Star Wars role-playing game from the 2000 era. I've played the Edge of Empire Star Wars, which uses a whole different dice system. I've played Dungeons and Dragons 4th edition, 5th edition. Of course, I've played Pathfinder, Starfinder, Pathfinder 2nd edition. And then the other one that really jumps out is Serenity, which is based on the Firefly universe, which is pretty cool. I don't know, man. All of them have their pros and cons. I think part of the reason why I like Paizo so much is because of their adventure paths, though. I think that's part of the reason why I've had such an affinity with them. Is they just have such good stories.
Explain the adventure paths. What exactly is that?
So an adventure path. Okay, so what I've done with you guys is like a one-shot module, The Fall of Plaguestone.
Sure.
Okay. An adventure path is like 6 of those. One right after the other, and you have like a big bad guy, the BBEG, the big bad evil guy, who's kind of like orchestrating things, and like every module is kind of like building towards that thing, and so
kind of like Curse of Strahd for Dungeons and Dragons.
Yeah, kind of like Curse of Strahd or some of those other things for Dungeons and Dragons. But for me, I've just really enjoyed I just think they have some really interesting stories with interesting characters and interesting layouts. And so, I mean, that's kind of why I've settled on them, at least as of late. Excuse me. And the same goes for like their Starfinder stuff.
Now I know that Freebird has got to go. Yeah. Thank you so much for joining us, man. I appreciate your contribution.
This was a lot of fun.
Yeah, maybe we'll do it again.
Definitely wasn't nervous at all. 100% not nervous. I do not know what you're talking about.
You're fine.
All right. Well, I appreciate you for hanging out with us. You have yourself a good weekend.
You too. Have a good one, guys.
Bye.
Bye. Later, buddy. Have a good one.
All right. Let me see. I'm gonna fix the shift. There we go. Move my little guy over.
I think we need some music in the background.
Do we?
It's like some
Yeah.
Let me see what I can do here. Can I do Sirenscape?
I know what you can do. I have an idea. I'm gonna send you something in Discord.
Uh-oh.
It's I
better not be Baby Shark.
To you a while ago, but I'm not sure you saved it. But it's that YouTube channel. And it's like perfect, just chill background music. So
okay. All right.
I like chill background music.
So,
what's that? What's Chilled Cow?
Chilled Cow? Isn't that?
Yeah, they do the
ice
lo-fi hip hop on YouTube.
Oh yeah, I do
I really like that.
Lance's dark tempo stuff with the trip hop and stuff. Yeah. Anyway, so I think that the first system that I was ever
in there now. God damn it! All right, I'm sorry, you guys. I will be right back. I really have to pee, and my roommate's taking over the shower, which means I won't get a chance for a very long time. So I'll be right back.
There's always bushes. Anyway, the first one I think I was exposed to was, like I said, that James Bond one, Marvel Superheroes. But, those were more like books to read. I didn't really get to play them. I just didn't have a group to play with. Later on, I got into... I did play I did finally, like in my 20s, play a session of Dungeons and Dragons, the first edition, and it was so cumbersome and so confusing. I didn't know what I was doing, and I'll be honest with you, I didn't have a good time with it, and it just furthered my I don't understand why people like this stuff feeling. But later on, then I started. Then I think I don't know what the trigger was for me to play Dungeons and Dragons 5th edition, but I actually picked up the book, bought it. $60 or whatever, how much that hardcover was, and then I started playing it with a group about 45 miles away from here. I would drive up there and play with them every Tuesday night. It was, and
that's cool.
Yeah, and it was a store. It was a store that sold TTRPGs, but they had like tables that you could play at and stuff like that. Of course, all that's done now. I don't know. I don't know if they're still getting together
As
or
of late.
Yeah. So, but it exposed me to, and then that's when I started making my own dice towers and making, collecting dice and all that stuff. And then I played some kind of more obscure stuff. I've always been dabbling with GURPS. GURPS is one of those things where it's free domain type stuff, and there's so many different themes that you can select with that system. It's pretty generic universal role-playing system, so yeah, it's pretty universal. And then Pathfinder, I picked up the starter pack of, it's like a box set And it comes with like abbreviated rules and a paradise and like these little stand-up characters and stuff like that. Didn't play it, but at least I had it, and so that was pretty good. So that was my first exposure to Pathfinder, and then let me try to think of what other systems I played. There's been like some really hardcore systems. BattleTech. Is that what it is? BattleTech. There's a lot to keep up with in BattleTech, especially when you're using a mech. I played Star Wars, the older one. I have not played Edge of Empire.
The older Star Wars one is based off of D&D 3.5, which is what Pathfinder is based off of.
Right. Okay, I got you. And then, but lately I've been getting interested in a system called Nibiru. It's more of a storytelling, but you're trying to recover memories, or you're trying to hold on to memories. It sounds pretty neat. And they use three die fours, 3d4s to figure out whether or not you're going to be successful or not. And if you fail, you lose memories. If you win, you get to not only keep the memory, you spend memories, you get to keep the memory, but you also gain another one. It's a very interesting system. I remember the first time I was exposed to it was like these guys were sitting there, and a guy was holding a beanie in his hand, a beanie that he wears all the time, but he was able to remember stuff just by holding this beanie, and kept rolling over, recovering these memories. I just thought that was so unique. And then, of course, I'm going to be running Kids on Bikes next week, and that is a completely different system where your stats are linked to a type of die. The stronger your stat, the stronger stat gets a D20. The weakest stat gets a D4, and you have to beat checks. And there's things like exploding dice and stuff like that. So it should be interesting to see how that goes. And again, it's more of a storytelling than a mechanic type RPG. So anyway, that's with that. So I was gonna probably open to questions from the audience, but I don't know how much of an audience do we have right now. Does the audience have any questions? Let's see who we got here.
While we're waiting for questions from them,
sure.
Do you mind if I bring something up?
Go right ahead, bud.
Awesome. I think it's I think one of the things that I always used to think was that I had to come up with a story all by myself.
Right.
That's how I originally thought TTRPGs were.
Right.
Like Mutants and Masterminds. I remember I did a small story for some of my students. I did one for Serenity, and it wasn't until I realized that you could just pick up a module and you have the whole story right there, as well as like everything that players have to do.
Right.
And on top of that, you got like maps and skill checks and all these different things. And so if there is anybody out there who is interested in TTRPGs or even becoming a game master like myself, I just want to encourage you that you don't have, like, if one of the things that you're afraid about is like, you're like, oh, I don't know if I've got the best story, or I don't know if I could be all that creative and think of every single thing, and you don't. You don't have to be. That's what's really nice is you can just pick up one of these stories with one of your friends, whether it's something from Paizo or whether like a Pathfinder thing, or whether it's a Dungeons and Dragons thing like Legend of Strahd. Is that what it's called?
Yeah.
Curse of Strahd.
Curse of Strahd. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well,
regardless
of what it is, I think I just want to encourage you that if you have friends that you feel comfortable playing with, then try it out. Because the worst thing that could happen is you just don't want to play again.
That's right.
You know, but the nice part about it is that between like it's, even as a game master, it's not all on you. You know, it is collaborative storytelling. Everybody is part of the narrative and adding their little piece here on, and so for those who look at that and they're just like, that just seems like a lot of work, you know. And I mean, I'll be honest, it is more work than the average player, but it doesn't fall all on you. And the creative process doesn't fall all on you. Coming up with the story and the world and all that, it can seem kind of like a lot, but it's not. I mean, you can be that type of a GM, but you don't have to be. And that's kind of what's nice about it, is that's how I started again within the last 2 years, was I picked up an AP module 1 for War for the Crown. It's a Pathfinder adventure path, which I could purchase on Roll20. And I invited 5 people who and that was kind of the nice thing about the internet. This is like I could reconnect with people that I lost contact with. So like my best man from my wedding, we're closer than ever now, which is really cool. A friend of mine from Houston who I wanted to get closer to, you know. A friend of mine who used to live in our house and has since, you know, moved out. And so I think it's a real cool opportunity to reconnect with people as well.
Right.
So.
Oh, terrific. Yeah, Dave, to your statement, when you're a player, you let all the you are working with everybody, so there's no.
I'd like to speak to what Dave said.
Oh,
if
go
that's
ahead.
Okay. I mean, I feel like I'm the perfect example of someone who knew literally absolutely nothing about tabletop RPGs. I didn't even know there were other games besides Dungeons and Dragons. And I knew it was a thing that people did. I knew there were dice involved, and I knew that somehow people role-played in it too, and it made absolutely no sense to me how that worked. Like how you can have like a game with rules where you like take turns and do things, where there's like mechanics, but you also role-play. And it obviously, like, it intrigued me, it interested me enough to the point where I tried it, and now I really like it. But even when we started our first Pathfinder 2 session, you guys, like, you would say things that I had no idea what you were talking. You'd be like, you know, it's going to be a 15 to hit. Does it hit? And I'm like, what does that mean? I have no idea. And it was just playing the game where I eventually figured out, you know, sometimes I was brave enough to ask questions, but there were times where it was like, I don't even know what to ask. And if it were explained to me, I still don't know if I would understand it.
Right.
So I just learned as I went, and I can't stress enough how little you have to know to try it out.
I didn't know much before I started, and like I'd played, like, actually when Timeslip was talking, it reminded me that I played like one session with a coworker several years back, but it was like he was one of those people that had like been playing for a really long time, had like a really long like series going with his like nerd friends, and so it was kind of like this huge pressure of like, oh, you don't know what you're doing, like you're supposed to know what this means. I gave you this rule book. Why didn't you read everything in the rule book? One of the other people that was playing that was like had never done it was really bored, and so she like didn't pay attention at all. And so and I rolled really badly, and like it was just like this big like, well, maybe that's not like my thing. But then when I started like watching people playing it online again, it was like, well, these people are a lot more like open and understanding. It's way more story based than like what I did before, which was like
mechanic.
I don't know what it was, if it was 3.5 or 4. It was a different system, like slightly different, but it seemed very complicated to me.
Chunky.
Yeah,
it felt very complicated, and so I was like, I didn't know what I was doing most of the time, and it was like, confusing. So then I watching people play made it easier when I started playing, because I kind of had an idea of some of what they were doing. I was like, oh, they're rolling to see if it hits, okay. And even though the numbers are different all the time, and I forget which one to look at, At least I kind of know what's going on.
I don't think about Roll20 and Fantasy Grounds. It takes a lot of that out, a lot of that kind of guessing what you add and what you it takes that out of there for you. It automatically calculates it for you. It doesn't make you dumb to it, mind you, because eventually you do learn what it means. +2 to your roll, -1 for being, you get a stub toe or whatever. So that's kind of it's kind of nice that that they've got those in. And when I first got on Roll20, boy, it was
complicated.
It was rough. It was just it had a lot of problems, but they've you can tell that that's Roll20 is a labor of love for those guys, and they keep pouring into it. The interface is still real simplistic. It's you go in there and you're like, this is where we're going to be doing a role-playing game. This looks like something that like I would see pictures of things I don't want to see, but because they're not interested in high graphics on their start screen. They just want to get you into the game and get you going. So I can't say that enough about how much I appreciate Roll20 and Fantasy Grounds. I think Fantasy Grounds is we're still learning that. It seems a little bit more complicated, but boy, it does a lot of stuff. It does a lot of stuff for you if you know how to get it to do it for you, and stuff like that. Roll34.
I like how theatrical it is.
Yeah. So and we haven't even played with effects yet that much. I know that if he wants to, he can put like what do they call those, particles and stuff like that on the things, little explosions and stuff like that, right? Little sparkles.
So Fantasy Grounds Classic doesn't have that ability, which is what we're using.
Right.
Fantasy Grounds Unity does, and the reason we aren't using Unity yet is because we had some problems in our initial testing. Yeah. It's and I think it'll get there. It'll just take time. It's still under development. It's in beta.
It's resource heavy right now.
Yeah, and so right now it's not like super optimized. In essence, Fantasy Grounds is a little bit like Atlas.
Right. Remember that first week of Atlas? I don't know if how many of y'all got Atlas on launch, but
I did not.
Wow, oh my. Well, actually, it wasn't the first. It was like the first 2 months of Atlas. It was. I think Crafty, you and I go on like a. Is that you that went? Yeah, we went on like an official server, and it was.
And we fucked around, yeah.
It was so chaotic. There were people running all over the place, and we were trying to figure out how to drink water from the ground. It's like, what? It's like,
well, I mean, like,
it'd be crazy out there.
Yeah, it was terrible.
It's a pretty ambitious thing that they tried to do, which is linking a bunch of different servers together to create one big game. I mean, like, you don't. Yeah. That's just that hasn't been a thing. So I mean,
not to that scale. I like Trade Wars. I think they had something similar to that. But yeah, you're right. Just all these big, huge maps. I don't know how big the official server map is, but from what I remember, it's really large. There's a lot of ocean to explore. But anyway, getting back to the TTRPGs. It needs some optimization, Fantasy Grounds and stuff like that. So,
I just wanted to say something that Peanut and Alki alluded to as well, which is like when it comes to TTRPGs, it's like finding a good. It's hard because I know the GMs are kind of like they're not like raining out of the sky, But if you can find a good GM or even a good group to play with,
right,
and you guys take turns GMing, that's that to me has been the difference between a good game and a bad game. Because I've been part of bad games before, where the GM is is not patient or not descriptive or a little bit short-tempered, and it can be kind of rough.
Yeah.
Or even like players that kind of like are pushing in, like, you going to bed, buddy? You want to say hi?
Hi.
Okay.
Wait,
Hi.
hi, Craftjaw.
Yes,
Hi.
I love Craftjaw.
I want you to transform into the raccoon guy.
Okay. He wants to see the raccoon guy. All right, good night, buddy. Party crasher.
There he goes.
I think that is the difference. Oh, he's the raccoon. Okay, I thought he left and he was obedient, but he wasn't.
Love you all.
Yeah, so I just think having like a good group of people that you feel comfortable playing with is the most important thing. There can be a real like push to just like join up with anybody, and I don't think that's wise. I've had the most success where I've like gone to people I trust, that I feel comfortable with,
Right.
who I know will be forgiving of my foibles and mistakes, because God knows I still make them. And I think that really helps to set the tone for a good game.
Sure.
What
Absolutely.
Davey say? I think the whole thing of playing with people who know what they are doing kind of feels like a bit of pressure to pick up what's happening and how to do it. And yeah, anytime you have a new person coming into campaign, like, that's a whole new, it doesn't sound like much, but when you think about like a group culture and a group dynamic, this is, a couple weeks or a month or even a year of people who've learned to play with one another. Like, the inflections in their voice for when they're finishing up their turn, or you just like, there's a pattern, there is a rhythm that kind of like begins to go. Like, I'll tell you this much: my group on Monday nights that I play with, my War for the Crown group, we're still playing after, I guess, 2.5 years now. I don't know what it is, but it feels like the last month and a half, 2 months, like we've hit a stride where we just all know, and there is like a comfort level there with people who are willing to broach topics, and who just, and it's funny because I hesitate bringing anybody into that group, because there's a part of me that's like, it's perfect, it's right.
Yeah.
But here's the thing: is like, it just takes time.
Yeah. You don't want it to be stale either, right? So my comment towards this is that my best advice to this is fake it till you make it. You can do that. Yeah, you can do that with any sort of role playing game. You just as long as you're sitting there paying attention to what's going on, you don't zone out or whatever. You're actually trying stuff. You will have people, and especially if you're with a good group, you'll have people kind of guide you along and carry you along. So fake it till you make it. So we're reaching the end of here, end of our thing here. Does anybody else have anything else they would like to talk about before we move on?
I have something I would like to say.
Sure.
Touching on what Dave is talking about, I just want to I want to talk about how WASD and our whole goal with tabletop RPGs is specifically to appeal to and bring in beginners and noobs and people who have never done it before and want to try it. There's two reasons for that for me. One is there are so many like channels and streams out there who have their stuff down, and like it's produced and it looks great, everyone knows what they're doing, and that's awesome, but it can be intimidating, especially like for someone like me who that stuff like that made me kind of like not want to play so much, because it's like they all know what they're doing, I have no idea what to even ask. And so I think it's good, I think there's a market and a niche, for beginner type.
Well, you get us, lucky you get us in our roughest form. Congratulations, aren't you lucky?
Yay!
Yay!
I like it rough.
It's not intimidating, and people find it approachable, and they see it as something
Right.
like, okay, maybe I could do that. Like they're not perfect, you know. Maybe I don't have
Speak for yourself.
and I really want our community to be a place where
Sure.
people like Dave, who have never tried it and are interested in it but are afraid to or worried that they're gonna, slow people down, or it's gonna be boring, that they're gonna annoy people because they're gonna be asking questions. That is exactly what we want. We want.
I don't
people
think it's boring
wanna
either.
Right.
Yeah, no, I don't
Being
think
able
it
to
is
talk
either.
about
People
it and go over it
love
is
to
great.
Talk about stuff. They love talking about stuff that they're into and that they know a lot about. People love it. Look at us right now. This is literally that's all we're doing. We're talking about stuff that we enjoy, and so it's fun for people to teach and bring someone into it. And it's not just us doing you a favor by teaching you how to play a game and bringing you into a group, but you're doing us a favor by allowing us to talk about what we love talking about. So yeah.
Okay. So
I have a final thought.
oh, go ahead.
Don't worry about like the TTRPG police coming and looking over your shoulder and making certain you do everything right.
Yeah.
Because God knows I've made tons of mistakes. If we're playing exactly as rules is written by every way, and you can see Crafty nodding emphatically about the amount of mistakes that I made. So I mean, and so yeah, I mean, like whether it's like slowing people down at a snail's pace or not feeling like you quite get it perfectly, the most important part is that you just are having fun, and like if you look at any of these modules, Pathfinder 2, Starfinder, any of them, all of them will say, hey, do what's right for your group, and if this rule doesn't work, throw it out the window.
Yeah.
Because the most important thing is that you're having fun with this world or this system or this character that you've created or we've created. So
All right. I have a final question for you guys, and then we're going to reward you guys that are the viewers that have stuck around with us. I got a trailer for the next project that I'm working on for Halloween. Okay.
Yeah.
My final question was: guys, is this something that you enjoyed doing? Would you like to do this again?
Can I go first?
This?
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, absolutely. I love this a lot, and I see this becoming like a series type thing,
Okay.
where we can have different like special guests, like with Smexy and Freebird.
Mm-hmm.
Like
Exactly.
people that, yeah, I yes, an emphatic yes.
Okay. Good. Crafty.
Huh. Yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I'm here.
You want to answer the question?
you're such a turd.
Yeah. All right, Peanut. Did you enjoy yourself? Did you have a good time? Would you like to do this again sometime?
Yeah, I did. I feel like I'm so new to everything, but it's fun to like kind of be included and get to like talk about things with people.
All right, Prankster.
Yeah, I think what's fun is kind of like just the different perspectives that we have.
Mm-hmm.
You have people who've been in it a little bit longer, like myself, and you have people who've been in it kind of a medium amount of time, like Crafty or Time Slip, and you have people who have just started, like Peanut. And so I think like, I've learned through multiple fields and jobs and careers that, you can learn as much from new people as you can from old.
Going old.
All right. And Crafty, can you answer the question now?
I said yeah.
Okay, fantastic. All right, so starting, I'm going to do a one-off next weekend for Kids on Bikes. You've heard me talk about it in this thing, and I worked very hard on building the trailer today. So, but I was going to present that to you, debut this to you at the end of the trailer. We'll go ahead and. Do we want to do a community game day, or is that something that we're interested in doing, or do you want to just go off and do
For
our
this
own things.
evening?
Yeah, yeah. It's 9:30 Central. That's what 7:30 your time and 10:30 East
In the
Side.
real time. Yeah.
I feel like maybe not
Okay.
tonight.
All right, that's fine. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and play the trailer. Thank you guys for joining us. And after the end of the trailer, we'll go ahead and sign off. And
Yeah.
boy, almost timed that perfectly.
Uh,
Let me see here.
Use the emote. Super awesome emote that Peanut made us.
Oh yeah. That's a good thing to bring up. Thank you for designing that, Miss Peanut. And I promise you guys.
I'm excited to have a chance to use it.
I promise you
We had to
guys that are
modify it for-
okay. That are let me move my ugly head out of the way. By the way. All right, and then let me boop. There we go. And
this one's way more animated than the other one.
right. So, and it's different from what I showed you earlier. I did some tweaks to it as well. So thank you guys. Good night. Our theme song is coming. We've got updates on it. It's coming. We're excited for it and stuff. Yay! All right. Y'all have yourself a good night. Thanks, guys.
Night.
Bye.
Be well, everybody. Have a good night.
Auf Wiedersehen.
Awesome. All right.
Oh, cool.
Cool.
Yeah.
I think it was.
I want to watch the trailer. Oh! Wait a minute, I still hear us talking. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh no.
Pro streamers. It's me. Has a name.
Awesome. Is this all artwork from the game?
You know that our voices are still in the stream, right?
Yeah.
Okay, alright. I'm just making sure you know. I'm just making sure you know. Sure. Why would you want to do that?
Oh, time's up. I'm really trying to watch this. If you could be quiet, please.
Perfect timing, our Discord thing came up in chat.
Mm-hmm.
I like it.
It fits.
Yeah. Damn.
Yeah, my character is called. Hey, Freebird, thank you for the gift up.
Thank you.
Aww.
Such a Chad.
It's the homie. Good night.
Hey guys.
Night.
Nighty night. Sleep tight. Keep you all tight.
Are we off now?